I was talking to Brian Rose, and he said, dude, it took me 3 years to film just a 2 hour documentary, and you filmed a 20-hour docuseries in 6 months. I was like, oh, I didn't know you couldn't do it that fast. So shout out to the power of ignorance there.
Welcome back to the Lisbonian Lifestyle. I'm your host, Igor and today we're going to talk about building a large email list really fast with your own documentary. Yes, you heard me right. My guest today, Michael Hearne, actually is an expert at building ginormous lists within a span of just a couple of weeks, producing docuseries about all sorts of different things that he's passionate about. Most recently, he launched the Six-Figure Side Hustle, the documentary where yours truly is being featured as one of the experts, which came as a really unexpected opportunity for me, to be honest with you. But, I got to see the inside of that process and I was amazed because I've seen product launches before, I've seen evergreen campaigns before, I've seen summits, I've seen webinars, but I've never seen anyone actually use a documentary to launch a giant list. So I had to get Michael on the show, and that's why we're here. So Michael, welcome to the Lisbonian Lifestyle.
Thank you, Igor. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell us, how did you get into this thing? Like, did you go to movie school or what?
I was actually laughing about that the other day with my wife. I was like, I've never learned how to film a docuseries. I've never been to like film school or anything along those lines. Actually, I came across the guys with Reveal Films that I partnered with on the Six-Figure Side Hustles docuseries, and I was looking to buy a business at the time, and we were talking about acquiring one of their properties, and the deal didn't work out. But I wound up joint venturing with them on Money Revealed, and at the time I had been a freelance copywriter for years, and I had started like saying, okay, there's more high leverage ways for me to take this skill and use it. And so we wound up joint venturing with them, launched Money Revealed, and we built a 130,000 person list in 2 weeks, and did millions right out of the gate. And then the long tail on that list was obviously several million more. And so I was hooked. That said, like it was a couple years later until I produced my own documentary series, and it was Uncensored Crypto, which I think you shared that you'd seen part of it. And I filmed it in 6 months, right? And I didn't know that you weren't supposed to do them that fast because I was talking to Brian Rose, and he said, dude, it took me 3 years to film just a 2 hour documentary, and you filmed a 20-hour docuseries in 6 months. I was like, oh, I didn't know you couldn't do it that fast. So shout out to the power of ignorance there.
Yo, it's Igor. I want you to have my Amazon best-selling book for free for taking the time to listen to my podcast and to watch my YouTube videos. Now, I'm not only going to give you this book for free, but I'm going to throw in about $3.2 thousand in free bonuses. Now, if you want to get this book, please click the link in the description, or you can also go to igorsbook.com. And now, back to the podcast. No, that's nuts. What allowed you to have the audacity to think you can actually do it? I mean, it's a big project. I would assume you need a crew, at the very least, a film crew. Obviously, you can write the copy, but was there like a tiny little voice in the back of your head saying something like, "Dude, what the hell? This is bigger than you."
I think that voice gets louder and quieter, at different stages of life, depending on what you're taking on. But I had taken on the role of a CEO of a real estate education company, an info product company. And I came in and the guy was like, this company's growing. We're going to break 1 million in our first year. Need someone to come in that has your the CEO skills, and can build it. And you don't really qualify because you're just a marketer, but I'm willing to give you a shot. And it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. Maybe that's the old negging approach there. So I got in there. I found out that his entire sales floor had quit, and that they only had one product and their funnel wasn't working. And so I turned it around. I got it to where, had a sales floor, small sales floor that was actually able to convert. Facebook ads were ROI positive, and I built out an entire new product line and funnel, and got it profitable in 6 months. But the whole time, the guy was telling me like, hey, you need to be doing this and that. You need to implement, traction. You need to implement all these complex operating procedures. And I'm just like, dude, if this business doesn't start to make sales, it's going to fail. And so I had this guy like negging me the whole time. And it's 6 months in, I was like, look, you told me this was a successful company that was well capitalized, and it's turned out to be neither of those things. Like, either you give me the capital for the team that I need to grow this business, or I'm out. And because I can't do it, I felt like I can't grow this the way that I said I would as a solo operator with, you just barking in my ear all the time. And of course, what he heard was, I can't do this, which is whatever, I'm good with that. So like, I came into this uncensored crypto project with some angst. And I was like, oh, I can't do it, huh? Watch me, watch what I go do. And so I went out and I did, multiples of what his business did in the first month of operating that company as the founder and CEO. So, I would say that, like, part of the secret probably is to take those negatives and harness them into a positive. And so that's where I was. That's the headspace I was in. But I was also in kind of a beyond that. Like, dude, this was 2020, and the U.S. elections had just gone down. There was insanity in the world, like all this censorship and all this crazy junk that is just, to me, was wrong. It was un-American. It was not just un-American. It was just wrong. On the spectrum of what's right and wrong. And I saw that the power of decentralizing technology, Web3 technology, and I said, man, this can actually make a difference.
Yeah. So you're saying it was un-American.
Yeah, it was just wrong, right? So, censorship, not letting the best idea win, just, like, whoever has the power to silence the most people gets, to have their side win the argument. Like, that's just not right. Like, especially when you're talking about, locking down the entire world, and silencing all like logical based arguments against it or for it. Like, there was no way to have a public forum to reach the right decisions, right? um, you know, President Donald Trump got deplatformed, Parler got taken offline, and like all of these like really hot button issues, which I'm sorry I'm talking about them, but I
No.
was like, what the frick is going on here, man? And this is wrong. I saw that decentralizing the web could take the power out of Silicon Valley's hands, so that we, the people, so to speak, could be in charge of the internet, the infrastructure. And I said, this is a story that needs to be told. And so I also had this like driving, like, um, cause that I was trying to get behind as well. I felt like this was my way of taking the frustration that not just I felt, but everybody felt, and harnessing it into something that was productive, that could potentially even be a solution. And so that led to me go out there and with all this energy, just filming the whole docuseries in 6 months. And I do think my background as a copywriter, knowing storytelling, knowing persuasion, rhetoric, how to do good messaging, all those things absolutely came into play. Um, and I also hired the right team to help me get it done. But it was definitely a surreal experience. It was definitely a surreal experience.